Most of us hardly glance at the ceiling fans spinning overhead, but the moment you step into a Tamoor ceiling fan factory, you realize there's far more to these household fixtures than a few rotating blades. There's heat, noise, and an intricate ballet of machinery and human skill that transforms stacks of raw materials into polished appliances built to endure. Walking through the production floor, you sense a careful dance of precision engineering, old-school craftsmanship, and mass production savvy. And beneath the constant hum of electric motors and stamping presses, there's an undercurrent of pride. The knowledge that, once boxed and shipped, these fans will serve in homes around the world, quietly spinning for years, rarely drawing attention yet vital to everyday comfort. The journey typically begins in the receiving bay, where coils of electrical steel arrive from specialized suppliers. This steel is chosen for its ability to hold a magnetic field without wasting energy as heat. Technicians in clean lab coats scrutinize each shipment, checking mill certificates against strict factory standards. Even a tiny impurity in this steel can lead to an inefficient or noisy motor down the line, so rejections aren't uncommon. Once approved, the coils are unrolled onto conveyor systems that guide them through large cutting machines, which stamp out the stator and rotor laminations, the very core of the fan's motor. Each circular lamination has precisely measured slots designed to fit copper windings later on. Witnessing these sheets get punched at high speed is mesmerizing, a rhythmic clatter as thousands of identical discs emerge, each destined to become part of the motor's beating heart. Not far from the stamping zone, another station processes raw copper wire in preparation for motor winding. An untrained eye might see spools of copper as interchangeable, but Tamoor's engineers know better. They source high-purity copper whose gauge and insulation thickness meet specifications down to the micrometer. Workers feed these spools into automated winding machines that spin at extraordinary speeds, guiding the wire through a spider-like apparatus. Watching the bobbins fill with neatly wound copper is like seeing a well-rehearsed dance, each coil forming a precise shape. Every strand must align perfectly. Even small tangles or uneven loops could lead to excess heat or wasted electrical current. Once the winding is done, the stator coils are tested for continuity and resistance, ensuring they meet the tight tolerances set by the brand. At this stage, any glitch, like a minor insulation flaw, risks bigger issues later on, so the process is constantly monitored by computerized vision systems and vigilant operators. With stator laminations cut and coils wound, assembly begins. Workers fit the stacks of metal discs onto specialized fixtures, then insert the copper windings into carefully aligned slots. In older factories, this step was done mostly by hand, with artisans spending years perfecting their technique. Modern Tamoor lines have semi-automated stations that guide operators in placing coils precisely, but the human touch remains essential. There's still no substitute for a trained eye and a steady hand when it comes to ensuring that wires lie flat and secure. Once all coils are seated, the assembly heads to a station for impregnation, a process where varnish or epoxy seeps into every gap, bonding the coils in place and preventing vibration. This not only strengthens the motor, but also helps reduce the hum you might hear when the fan operates at high speed. Curing ovens bake the resin, solidifying the assembly into a single cohesive unit. Meanwhile, over in the fan blade department, a different transformation unfolds. Sheets of aluminum or sometimes steel arrive in large stacks, awaiting their metamorphosis into sleek, aerodynamic shapes. Tamoor's design engineers conduct wind tunnel tests and computer simulations to perfect the blade's pitch and curvature. Even a slight tweak in angle or a change in the width can alter how air moves across the blade, influencing the fan's airflow and noise level. Giant stamping presses cut and form these blade blanks, pressing them with thousands of pounds of force into a mold that imparts the fan's signature design. Despite the heavy machinery, there's a surprising level of finesse involved. If the metal's temperature isn't right or the press's timing is off, the blade could end up warped, leading to vibrations and wobbles once installed. Quality inspectors measure each blade with precision instruments, checking angles and detecting microscopic cracks before they move on. Though the factory's goal is mass production, smaller artisan touches still appear in unexpected corners. For instance, blade edges might be manually deburred by skilled workers who feel for burrs with gloved fingertips, running a small file along the perimeter until it's perfectly smooth. Some models undergo a careful polishing step to achieve a gleaming finish, especially for fans destined for showrooms or luxury homes. Others have subtle texture patterns that help reduce audible swoosh. In all cases, a consistent standard emerges. The blade must combine form and function, looking good while slicing through the air with minimal drag. Nearby, another station handles the painting and coating of both motor housings and blades. Some fans feature classic metallic tones, bronze, matte black, or brushed nickel, while others come in bright, glossy colors meant for trendy interiors. Automated paint booths use electrostatic spraying to ensure an even coat, but the factory doesn't stop at a single layer. High-grade primer goes on first, followed by color coats, and sometimes a clear protective layer that resists chipping. Between each pass, parts move through temperature-controlled drying tunnels. Observers might assume it's purely cosmetic, but a good paint job is essential for resisting corrosion, especially in humid climates. Tamoor fans often end up in coastal regions where the salty air can wreak havoc on metals. So paint quality is as much a performance factor as an aesthetic one. Once major sub-assemblies, motor, blades, housing, are ready, they converge on the main assembly line. Here, operators fit the stator and rotor together inside the metal shell, affixing components with precision screws or clips. The rotor is balanced carefully against the stator to reduce friction and wear. Aligning these parts can be an art in itself. Even a fraction of a millimeter off-center can produce annoying rattles. Next comes the installation of the capacitor, a small but vital device that helps start the motor and control its speed. Technicians attach wires to terminal points, double-checking polarity and ensuring no loose ends could cause a short. Then come final touches: lubricating bearings, placing rubber grommets to dampen vibration, and adding decorative caps that hide wires and hardware. Each step is documented in the factory's tracking system, so if a flaw surfaces, managers can trace it back to the exact station and operator for immediate rectification. Although much of the process is mechanized, certain controversies swirl around whether Tamoor and similar brands are truly any different from cheaper alternatives. Rumors suggest some companies cut corners by using recycled metals or lower-grade copper to slash costs. Tamoor's management denies such shortcuts, insisting they maintain rigorous quality control. Some fan forums buzz with speculation that lesser-known factories skip the crucial impregnation step or reduce varnish layers to boost throughput. Then there's the issue of counterfeiters who copy brand logos, packaging, and designs, selling subpar fans at knockdown prices that confuse consumers. In response, Tamoor has stepped up its quality seals, adding holograms and serial numbers that trace a fan's origin. Critics argue this simply raises production costs, without solving the root of the problem: demand for bargain basement prices. But for Tamoor, reputation is key. They'd rather invest in protective measures than risk having their brand name tarnished by low-quality imitations. After the core assembly, each fan faces a series of rigorous inspections. Some are as simple as test spins at each speed setting. Operators listen for odd rattles or wobbles, occasionally tapping the blades to check stability. Others are more advanced, like automated test cells, where sensors track the fan's power draw, torque, and RPM. The results must fall within tight tolerances for the product to pass. Environmental chambers may also be used, placing the fans in hot, humid conditions to ensure they can withstand real-world use in tropical climates. Noise level tests help confirm that the fans run silently enough to meet marketing claims. Some lines even measure airflow velocity at various angles, verifying that each model delivers the breeze promised in brochures. A single out-of-spec reading triggers a deeper investigation. Operators retest the motor, check for misaligned bearings, or discover a possible coil defect. The emphasis on thorough testing is part of Tamoor's bid to stand out among the flood of generic, cheaply made fans on the market. When fans clear testing, they proceed to packaging. Though it might sound mundane, packaging is a complex step in its own right. Inner foam or cardboard inserts need to secure the motor housing, blades, downrod, and hardware kit so they don't shift during transit. The brand's marketing team invests heavily in box design, using bright graphics and technical charts meant to catch a shopper's eye in a store aisle. Often, these boxes include outlines of key features, like high-efficiency motors or 5-star energy ratings, reinforcing the fan's premium image. Once sealed, the boxes move onto pallets, ready for distribution. Some shipments head directly to retail outlets, while others take a detour to distribution warehouses, waiting until orders arrive from different regions or online platforms. Despite the scale of production, plenty of room remains for innovation. Tamoor's research and development lab, typically off-limits to casual visitors, experiments with new motor winding techniques, advanced blade materials like composites, and even smart functionalities. There's talk of fans that adjust speed automatically based on room temperature or connect to home automation systems. Engineers explore silent operation by tinkering with magnetic levitation bearings or advanced damping methods. They also investigate alternative finishes that resist dust buildup, particularly appealing in places where dust storms are common. While such innovations could revolutionize how fans operate, they also introduce higher production costs. And that's where business realities collide with engineering aspirations. The question always looms: will customers pay more for a fan that's quieter, more durable, or offers an array of digital features? Tamoor's brand cachet suggests a certain demographic might, but the company also competes in markets where price sensitivity is high. Environmental considerations have increasingly shaped the manufacturing cycle. Operating massive metal presses and paint lines consumes considerable electricity, and chemical runoff from paint booths poses potential hazards. To address this, Tamoor has invested in greener technology: energy-efficient stamping machines, closed-loop water systems, and more environmentally friendly, water-based paint formulas. Solar panels on factory roofs generate a portion of the power needed, and wastewater treatment plants recycle the water used in certain processes. Some fans also carry official energy efficiency certifications, an ever more important selling point for environmentally conscious consumers. Yet, critics argue these measures only scratch the surface of sustainability issues. They wonder if producing large numbers of fans, some of which are bought cheaply and discarded quickly, truly aligns with eco-friendly principles. To their credit, Tamoor claims to be working on more robust, longer-lasting models to reduce product turnover. Time will tell if such efforts represent a genuine commitment to sustainability or just a savvy marketing strategy. Alongside sustainability, globalization drives the industry's future. While Tamoor is often seen as a local or regional powerhouse, many fans end up overseas, requiring compliance with diverse safety certifications. Meeting different standards for North America, Europe, and parts of Asia can mean redesigning electrical components or offering voltage-specific variants. It also influences packaging language, assembly instructions, and warranty policies. These complexities highlight how a simple ceiling fan can connect multiple economies. Copper might come from one region, steel from another, and final distribution could span continents. This patchwork supply chain occasionally sparks controversies. Some worry about the labor conditions at a raw material mine, while others question the carbon footprint of shipping heavy goods worldwide. In an era where buyers increasingly care about ethical sourcing, Tamoor faces pressure to audit and verify the path each component takes, from earth to assembly line to living room. As with any mass-produced item, automation continues to accelerate. Yet within the Tamoor factory, you still see rows of skilled workers, each responsible for a specialized task. Automation can handle routine or physically demanding stages, like stamping, coil winding, or repetitive assembly, but intangible aspects such as final inspection still rely heavily on human intuition. Subtle vibrations, faint clicks, or aesthetic nuances might slip by even the best cameras and sensors. So the factory remains a place where people and machines collaborate. Robotics take on the brute force jobs, while human craftsmanship ensures the fan meets the brand's promise of refinement. That fusion is part of Tamoor's signature style, blending modern efficiency with a level of care you don't often associate with large factories. Even as new production lines spring up, some older manufacturing cells persist, a nod to proven reliability. Seasoned workers, many with a decade or more of experience, train newcomers on techniques for tasks like manual coil winding or final blade balancing. The brand sees value in preserving such legacy skills. In a pinch, if a high-tech station goes offline, these workers can step in to maintain output. Their expertise also helps refine the production process. Over years, they've found workarounds for small design flaws or identified shortcuts that won't sacrifice quality. They share feedback with engineers who might tweak a motor assembly or add a safety guard to a tricky station. This feedback loop between hands-on operators and design teams creates a factory culture where innovation doesn't just come from top-down directives, but also from day-to-day experiences on the floor. Rivalries between fan brands might seem mundane compared to high-stakes industries like smartphones or cars, but for those in the know, competition can be intense. One rumor claims a competitor tried to clone Tamoor's blade design, only to land in a patent dispute over proprietary shape geometry. Another tells of a clandestine attempt to poach the brand's best coil winding technicians by offering higher pay. Whether fact or fiction, these stories underscore how valuable every part of the production process is, and how closely each brand guards its methods. Tamoor addresses these challenges by investing in morale building and competitive wages for skilled staff, as well as locking down intellectual property for design features. It's a cat-and-mouse game that seldom makes headlines, but impacts the final product's quality and, by extension, the fan's reputation in crowded markets. Ultimately, the real testament to Tamoor's process might be what happens once the fan is hanging on a ceiling. If installed correctly, these fans can run for decades with minimal maintenance. Some families pass them down when remodeling, relocating a still-working unit to a less-used room. The brand's loyal customers often mention how the fans remain quiet, even after years of continuous operation in hot climates. That reliability fosters strong word of mouth, which in turn drives more demand, reinforcing the cycle of production and refinement. At the same time, the ever-shifting landscape of consumer electronics looms, with new gadgets that promise to cool rooms more efficiently or integrate seamlessly into smart homes. Tamoor's strategy seems to be bridging the gap, offering incremental improvements while retaining the core reliability that made the brand a household name. The factory's day draws to a close, with the clang of machinery winding down. But even after the final shift ends, a skeleton crew remains to clean, calibrate, and maintain equipment. Inspectors finalize the day's testing data, logging it in digital archives. If any anomalies appear, a motor that failed a high-temperature test, a blade that exhibited microvibrations, the relevant assembly lines receive a note for the next morning's meeting. In that sense, the cycle never truly ends. Each day's output informs the next day's tweaks, forging a continuous loop of small improvements. It's an ethos that sees no product as completely finished, just an ongoing opportunity to refine design and process. And in an industry often content to churn out good enough products, Tamoor's ethos stands out. Everything circles back to the same guiding principle. A ceiling fan should be dependable, efficient, and seamlessly integrated into daily life. By the time a unit reaches the customer's ceiling, it's already survived a gauntlet of stamping, winding, assembly, and verification. Dozens of people and countless machines have touched it, each contributing a layer of precision or craftsmanship. For some, it's just a household appliance, replaced without much thought. For others, especially those who appreciate well-engineered solutions, there's an awareness that behind each quiet spin lie countless hours of research, testing, and quiet dedication from factory workers who take pride in what they make. And that's the story Tamoor fans try to tell. That even in mass production, there can still be a place for thoughtfulness, innovation, and lasting quality. So the next time you switch on a ceiling fan, perhaps late at night when the world seems peaceful, look up for a moment. Think of how each blade was shaped and balanced, how each coil was painstakingly wound and sealed, how the paint or finish was tested for harsh conditions. Consider the global chain of workers who played a role in crafting that simple, elegant machine. In a single rotation, you can trace the arc of modern manufacturing, from raw steel to high-tech assembly. And you might notice something else too. The gentle hush of air across your skin, carrying a sense of reliability that only a well-made product can provide. That silent testimony to careful craftsmanship and meticulous oversight is exactly what Tamoor aims for. It's the final, subtle signature of a factory process that marries tradition, innovation, and sheer human determination, all in the service of providing a cool breeze where it's needed most.